Uncle Iroh is one of the most beloved characters in the Avatar series. But I have one question for you. Was he really a good man? Hi, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Uncle Iroh and how he was able to transform his image from villain to saint. Now, if you don't know about Uncle Iroh's and Uncle Ozai's daddy, he was the one who created the Fire Nation superiority complex. That was mainly the reason as to why the Fire Nation thought that it would be a great idea to colonize and have dominion on all the other elements. Uncle Iroh was first in line to the throne. He had more of a responsibility to uphold that ideology, that Fire Nation ideology. So I'm pretty sure his dad and his mother and everyone who was around him really ingrained that into him and made him to become that famous war general. He was thought of to be that man who could win the war for the Fire Nation. He was really, I would say, a product of the system. He had no say in what he actually wants. A lot of characters I noticed in the Avatar series, like Zuko, they weren't inherently bad. They were just put into the system, which they were forced to act a certain way and uphold the beliefs of the people around them. Because if not, they would be outcasted. Now, before Uncle Iroh got outcasted, he went to the dragons. If you don't know about the dragons, they are guards over the fire element. And there is an episode with Aang and Zuko in which they actually sought after the dragons because it was during a time in which Aang had to confront Lord Ozai. So they went to the dragons in order for him to gain more ownership of the fire element and become more powerful in order to confront Zuko's father. Uncle Iroh, he was very much worthy of that dragon's presence because he was able to acquire that power that the dragon bestowed on him. Now, before I get into that, it's really interesting that the dragon saw Uncle Iroh be worthy and not everyone else, because it really shows you that Uncle Iroh had those qualities to change the world. You could tell how they set up his backstory. It was well noted that Uncle Iroh was going to have a redemption arc. During this point in time, the Fire Nation was everywhere around the world trying to dominate all the elements. Now, Earth Kingdom, fire against Earth, that's a really hard element to tackle. You can't really do much with fire against Earth, and you can't really do much with Earth against fire. It is rather difficult to fight, and that's why it took them 600 days. 600 days of fighting. Can you imagine battling for 600 days? And I know the conditions weren't good for the soldiers. It's just smoke in the air, dirt everywhere. Whew. Uncle Iroh was so close in breaching that wall. He was close because he had that extra power from the dragon. If you've ever seen Uncle Iroh fight, he don't play. He don't play. He was like, oh yeah, this is my time. This is my time. This was also a very pivotal moment in his life because, unfortunately, his son died during the battle while retreating. Now, this was his only heir, his only son. This was his baby. Imagine being in war and hearing devastating news. Obviously, you won't have that same ambition. He had to take a break. He had to step back. He really lost his faith in fighting. He's like, what is war about? Because he lost someone really dear to him. I feel as though he went into the war and thinking because he had this extra power from the dragon that he was invisible, but he didn't really understand that him being invisible did not go down to his son. And I think it was a wake-up call for him. He's like, what is this for anyway? Why is my dad making me fight? I know I'm in line for the throne, but I don't even have an heir. It's gonna go to my brother regardless, so what am I doing here? Because he didn't want to fight no more and he changed his ways, he was outcasted. That family loves to outcast people. No wonder they're just, crazy because they have no love in that family. No love whatsoever. If you don't really know about diplomatic relations, there's certain strategies in how a country can use their image to connect with other foreign partners and create other relations with other countries. Now, I thought it was cool that Uncle Iroh, during the actual show, now I'm talking about the actual show, not the backstory. In the actual show, Uncle Iroh was known to be as soft power. And soft power is a diplomatic strategy in which a country is using softness in order to gain attraction to a foreign audience. So the way I see it is like media, culture, food, everything that's reachable to someone like me or you. We are the main consumers for media, for culture, for all these things. It is accessible to us. His version of soft power was mainly having empathy, wisdom, patience, contrasted to Zuko, who demonstrated hard power. Hard power is straight military power, nuclear power. They're just showing you all the big guns. More political figures want to have this because it's a way in which they can protect themselves and their country. That's why a lot of countries really want a strong military. It's because of hard power, and there's a lot of heavy hard power countries out there. Yeah, but Zuko, his version of hard power was aggression, projecting fear onto people, and him wanting to have honor. I love how the creators created Uncle Iroh to have soft power and Zuko to have hard power, because in the past, Uncle Iroh was heavily under hard power. So he knows what exactly Zuko is going through in that moment. And since he changed a new leaf and went to soft power, he knows different ways in which he can make Zuko become the better version of himself. Now, I would say the reason why Uncle Iroh was so keen on to mentoring Zuko when he was outcasted by his father, it was, don't get me wrong, it was based on love. It was his family, right? And he was in his same shoes. He was outcasted as well. A lot of people did not like Uncle Iroh because he left the battle because of the death of his son. People were mad at him. Him mentoring Zuko was mainly a resistance against Fire Nation ideology. He felt as though if he can mentor Zuko, who is next in line for the throne, and create him into the version in which he could lead the Fire Nation kingdom in being accountable to all the destruction that they caused and create harmony with all the elements, he felt as though that would be his redemption arc. Setting up Zuko to be the next leader of the Fire Nation was his responsibility. He felt as though that was the least he could do. And I would also say that because Uncle Iroh didn't get like a flashy redemption arc compared to Zuko, it was because his redemption was Zuko. By guiding Zuko to the better path, he's also correcting and confronting his past actions and his previous choices. Throughout the show, even when he was in the Earth Kingdom, the one that he caused massive destruction towards, he was hearing people out about their hatred towards Fire Nation people, and him really understanding that just because he was able to turn a new leaf, other people unfortunately didn't have that same opportunity. They didn't have the same opportunity to just be in peace and be with their family. Him seeing that Zuko was his redemption arc, he had to change his mentoring strategies a couple ways. So in the beginning, say the first two acts, he was more so nudging Zuko. He was doing like a gentle nudge, but he understood that that wasn't working for him. He's like, you need to do harder. But instead of like forcing Zuko to go down to the path that he thought it was right for him, he took a step back and let Zuko actually see the path that's for him. He didn't really try to pressure his own ideology onto Zuko. He wanted Zuko to create his own ideology based on his experiences and meeting different people around the world. Mr. Zuko wasn't Uncle Iroh's only redemption arc. He also created the White Lotus, and the White Lotus is basically a secret organization that Uncle Iroh actually created in order to unite the nations together. So instead of using fighting to create harmony, he decided that fighting is not the answer and that they need to have a more peaceful strategy. I'm going to create a video about the Fire Nation ideology. But I will also say one of the key things about Fire Nation ideology wasn't that they didn't want harmony, but they wanted dominion over that harmony. So with the Fire Nation ideology, that what I could tell, in my opinion, is that the reason why they were going so hard is because if they had dominion over the other elements, they would be easier to control, which means if they're easier to control, they can easily create a more peaceful society. Uncle Iroh's redemption arcs is so interesting because it really shows that, you know, redemption doesn't really need a spotlight. It's the current version that really matters. And you can even see that with other characters in the show. Unlike Zuko and Azula, we didn't really actually see Uncle Iroh change in front of us. We only saw his current version, which I would say was his better version. This really changes how we see him because we admire him. We don't see his sins. We don't see what he did in the past. If no one knew the context of Uncle Iroh, they thought he would be a sweet man just drinking and sipping tea, babysitting Zuko. That's what I thought until I really dived into who Uncle Iroh was. Because we admire him so much and we only saw him as his current version, we can't really put his previous sins against him. So because of his quote-unquote villain era happening off screen, his actual transformation seems like a myth. You remember that episode when they were in the Fire Nation, they had to play and like the actual script wasn't what actually happened in the show? That's kind of what Uncle Iroh's transformation feels like. It doesn't feel real. He doesn't seem like a person who would do a 600-day battle against Airbenders. Like, no. You know, it's funny. I asked people who would I be in the Avatar. So I got Uncle Iroh. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. Are you calling me a villain? I'm just kidding, but he's a very wise man, very intelligent, and I'm glad that he was able to transform his image and have a pretty good redemption arc and actually set up the Fire Nation kingdom for success, because the Fire Nation needed Zuko in order to rewrite all the wrongs they did. I hope you guys like this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. What do you guys think about Uncle Iroh? What do you guys think about his redemption arc? Please let me know down in the comments who you think had the best redemption arc. Honestly, after making this video, I feel like hands down Uncle Iroh had the best transformation. But, you know, please let me know down in the comments. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!